You're listening to the Wilmac Wire, the podcast that's designed to give you a glimpse into a growing SaaS company, specifically in the realm of customer interaction technology. From customer experience to data management, we'll talk about it here. Thank you for tuning in. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Wilmac Wire. My name is Emily Miller from Wilmac Technologies, and I'm here to tell you how great an episode is today. It's actually one of our regular series that I host with Bob Pease, our VP of Engineering. If you get the gist of what I'm talking about here, we're chatting about product and the problems that it's solving for, specifically behind the build and the updates being made with Continuity Replay over the past 3 months and to our Continuity suite of platforms. So Bob and I talk a lot about the problems that our customers are facing and how the features that they're building and the changes that they're making to the product are impacting those problems, how they're helping solve for those problems. So Bob and I have a great conversation about that, along with our roadmap operations, how we're communicating what's going on within the product to our organization internally to create almost a group think scenario, and then also how he's communicating with our customers and presenting the roadmap and getting input and feedback. So I had a great conversation with Bob. Again, this is our second Behind the Build quarterly update. So we'll be back chatting again in a couple months. But it's a great episode. Bob's an awesome person. I'm looking forward to it. Like we talk about throughout the episode, positive vibes. So I'm going to send you guys with positive vibes into today's episode of the Wilmac Wire. Hope you enjoy. All right, Bob, welcome back to the Wilmac Wire. It's good to have you back. To our listeners, I'm here again with Bob Pease, our VP of Engineering at Wilmac Technologies. And guess what? We're back for another Behind the Build quarterly update. It's already been a couple months since we last spoke about kind of what's going on with your team and what you guys have been up to. So thanks for joining me again, Bob.
Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here. It's been a busy quarter for myself and the dev team for Continuity Replay and other fun initiatives. So excited to chat through them today.
Yeah, good. And as always, just a friendly face. Good to have you back. Good to have a good old conversation about something we both enjoy talking about. So yeah, just starting it off, how have you been? How's the team been doing?
I've been doing great. Like I mentioned, lots of exciting changes. Really focused on longer term strategy for product development here. So that's really been my role. And the team's been busy with new initiatives, fun new features. There's been a lot of excitement on the team for some of the enhancements that we've been releasing. So out of just positive vibes across the board for the dev team here at Wilmac.
Love that. The sun is setting later now. The dev team is doing well. It's brighter during the day. The sun's actually out in dreary Rochester. I think on the past few episodes, I've just been talking with people about how snowy it is here. So, like you said, you said,
it's a great change that we can bring, right, with this change of the weather.
Oh yeah. Okay, and just to give our listeners some context on kind of what we'll be chatting through, similar to the last Behind the Build quarterly update, this is just a regular series that Bob and I have started on the Wilmac Wire. The last one you can actually find is season 2, episode 1. So the way we kicked off season 2 was with a hot topic like this, and this is episode 8. So we're back after a few weeks. But what we're really going to talk about today is what's new with Continuity Replay, what's new going on with the new features that are enhancing the user experience, to even the back end piece, our roadmap operations. So, and like we said, we'll give a glimpse at kind of what's to come and probe at that too. So let's start it off, Bob, about what's been keeping you guys busy. What's been going on in the world of Continuity Replay, and what's the team been working on the last few months, if you want to start going through some of those features and what those mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I dive into the features, I guess let me I'll set the stage for what our theme has been, right, for the product and kind of the vision for the current quarter. We're really focused on greater visibility into call data and operations. And the way we're achieving that is by adding more integrations to unified data sources, which I'll explain. Faster and easier data access for audits, compliance, review of your data, and really setting the stage for AI-powered insights that we're going to be getting into later on in the calendar year. Mm-hmm. So that's been our theme. some of the features that we've launched that are enabling us to deliver on that. I'll start with the more data sources. We're really excited to be bringing in 2 new CCaaS integrations this quarter. The first is Amazon Connect. This is one a lot of customers have requested, that we integrate with Amazon Connect. So it's one we've been looking to prioritize for a while. We will be looking to add that in our next release to have that full end-to-end integration. So that's really exciting. Another great one is Zoom integration for Zoom contact centers, and which really cool plug that I saw. I don't know if anyone else saw this announced the other day. Amazon is actually ditching their own internal product, Chime, in favor of Zoom. So big win there in the industry for Zoom, and we're really excited to be able to offer an integration with Zoom.
Yeah. Before you move on to that, I just have a quick question. So when we're talking about continuity replay and like the production connectors, that comes back to your API first piece. But second to that, like, what is the reasoning behind like our customers asking about the Amazon Connect specifically you mentioned? What are they facing that's causing them to ask for these types of features?
It really comes down to siloed data. A lot of organizations are shifting between different contact center solutions. You might pick up a new contact center solution through mergers and acquisitions, right? You acquire a new company and they're using some other system, and you need to maintain access for all that data. And continuity replay is your central single pane of glass, your book of record for all that stuff. So we need to support all these integrations because customers are coming to us more and more often now where they have multiple setups within their organization, and we need access to all of that data.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure that we were clear on that. And I think that's a big pain point that we see with the siloed data piece, and bringing it into that book of record, like you talked about. All right. Sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
No worries.
Stop your ball from rolling.
So those are the 2 external data sources we're adding, CCaaS production connectors that we're adding. A little bit more about some of the fundamental features that we're rolling out with. Bulk export was a big announcement for us. So you can now go in through our search and replay screen and you can select interactions and export them to a zip file. We're going to give you all of your metadata, as well as the actual media files behind them. And it doesn't matter if we're talking audio recordings, screen recordings, emails, chats, whatever interaction you have in continuity replay get exported through bulk export. That's a really huge help for audits, and it's a real core to any compliance features that we want to add to the product. Likewise, this past release, we launched views. So views are a way for our users to isolate individual interactions into a smaller subset. So imagine that you're an administrator of continuity replay. You can see all of the interactions and you want to flag 100 of them for review with your compliance team. How do you give your compliance team just the ability to see that 100 without having to go through and apply filters or even worrying about giving them access to data that they maybe shouldn't see? Views are the answer to that. So you create a view, you name it, you assign it to a role within our system, so you can give all those fine-grained permissions in terms of what the other users are able to do within a view. And then you can optionally set an expiration date. So if it's a temporary review period that you need to offer for someone else, you can set an expiration date. It will automatically expire and be removed from the system. And then you can share that with other teams internally or even share externally with a third party if needed. So those are the 2 big compliance features we have: bulk export and interaction views.
Very cool.
Other great features we've released: external data storage. A lot of our customers are already using cloud storage for their media files, for their contact center solutions. And it can be a big lift to go and move that data into continuity replay storage. Just imagine you've got millions and millions of files and potentially terabytes of data. It's a big lift in terms of just transferring the data. It's a big lift in terms of going through your security checks with your security teams to make sure that you meet all of your requirements. Being able to directly integrate with the storage you're already using is a great feature for us. So we can integrate with Amazon AWS buckets, GCP buckets, or Azure Blob Storage.
Okay. I think that's an important one. Like we talked about the external storage piece and like how we're kind of branding these features, and you're like, bring your own storage. Like we're trying to make continuity replay as easy to use and as simple to use, because ultimately like it's such a complicated process in and of itself when we're talking about this data and siloed data and moving that data around. And then, like you said, we're dealing with enterprise level organizations that have strict security policies. I thought that just tied in well to what you were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So moving on, so away from compliance, a little bit of a sneak peek into a few other features that we're focused on for this quarter. A lot of customers have transcribed data already. So we are going to bring in the ability to display those transcriptions right in the media player. So if you already have transcribed data, we can adjust that alongside your audio recordings and your metadata. And then when you replay the call, we'll display that transcription right in our UI. On top of that, we are going to offer on-demand transcription. So this use case is for customers that just need a few calls transcribed, for whatever reason. But we have people that sometimes they don't want all their calls transcribed, but they do want transcriptions of certain calls. You'll be able to do that right through our UI. You'll be able to filter down to the interactions you need transcribed. You'll be able to click a button and we'll transcribe them for you on the fly. So we're really excited to be working on that feature in the next couple of weeks. And this really sets us up for future use cases for transcriptions, which really comes down to advanced searches. A lot of times we need to go through all the data and search based on like keywords, right? And transcriptions are what we need to enable that. So not only are we going to have transcriptions in the system that you can see, that you can export from the systems, but you'll be able to actually execute full text searches against those transcriptions as well.
Okay. Very cool. The transcription piece has been a topic of conversation for a long time. So it's interesting to hear, all right, there's almost two sides to it. There's the actual transcribing of the calls piece and then picking and choosing which ones you want transcribed. But then also like the companies that we're dealing with likely have a transcription tool already at their fingertips, and they still have to retain that data. Correct. Similar to the call recording, similar to text messages, screen sharing, all that sort of stuff. So being able to ingest that is an interesting thought.
Another common thing that comes up for us, retention is a huge part of what continuity replay enables. You can set retention periods on your interactions and they'll automatically be purged from the system. When it comes to transcriptions, we commonly find that the retention period for the transcriptions themselves are actually different than the interaction overall. So you might have a retention policy on the transcribed data of 1 year and a retention policy on the actual call of like 3 years, for example, right? So we'll be digging into those types of requirements as we get into building the actual feature.
Yeah. Okay, love that. Very cool. Exciting stuff going on. You guys have done a lot this past quarter. And I know we talk about this often too with like kind of the UI enhancement piece of it, like small little changes to help improve the user experience and how they're using the platform. Do you have anything to add on that, or are we good to move on?
Yeah, I'll talk about it. Because when I do my internal demos, I always like to pause and highlight the importance of these tiny changes. When we roll out a feature, we build it to the way that makes sense to us. And what ends up happening is sometimes customers start to use it and say, well, this doesn't apply to how I want to use it, right? So we get these little requests for small tweaks that are really easy for us to do, and in my opinion, add a great deal of value to the product. And a great example of this, for your individual interactions, if you want to go and override the retention dates or put an interaction on legal hold or add a tag, when we first rolled out the search and replay screen, what you had to do was double click into the cell on the actual grid itself. And you could only edit those fields individually, one at a time. And it was kind of painful, especially if you had to do a bunch of them at the same time, right? If you had to go through and update the retention period on 10 different interactions, you had to do that 10 different times. So we centralized those controls into just a modal pop-up, and we gave you one edit button now. So things like that really, again, in my opinion, they just enhance user experience by centralizing and streamlining workflows that our customers have to do. So we're really excited to launch that small enhancement. Another great one, we have a dashboard, interactions dashboard today that gives you a high level statistics. And it's just a static dashboard. To take it to the next level in our next release, we're going to have drill down capabilities. So when you're looking at that dashboard, you'll be able to click on any of the data that you see in the dashboard, and we're going to take you to the search and replay screen with the appropriate filter to just see the raw data behind the metrics that are in your dashboard.
That's sweet. I like that one.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, thanks for, like we talked about, that took up a good chunk of time because you guys have been working on a lot of different stuff and pushing out these features, which is really cool. But I wanted to move us into that next part. Like we talked a lot about the features and kind of what the customer can do around them, but really it always comes back to solving problems. So what kind of challenges were customers running into that led to these updates? I know you touched on it a little bit, but if you want to recap or go into any more detail, and then was there any aha moment that drove a particular update?
It's a great question. Yes, there are problems that lead to this. We are very customer focused in everything that we develop for continuity replay. It's very easy for us to sit in a conference room with a whiteboard and imagine all the features that we can build, but until a customer gets behind it, there's not really any meat to those bones. So, sitting down with customers and going through roadmap presentations is a huge part of what I do to get visibility into this, right? Because I can take a list of, here's the 15 things that we're looking at. What's going to matter to you? Those are what lead to the aha moment. So I know I'm kind of jumping ahead to your question because, if I give 10 presentations and 8 customers all gravitate towards the same feature, I know I've got something there, right? And then I can dive in and ask more specific questions. Other aha moments I've had that came out of customer conversations are just listening to how customers are using the product. So we have a Fortune 500 company who today they're using continuity replay to serve internal requests for interaction data. And before we had bulk export or views, for example, when one team would ask a different team for a set of interactions, they would have to go in and individually download one at a time and then provide it to it. So it was a very clunky workflow for them. And now they can use bulk export to serve that, right? So stuff like that, they're my favorite stories to tell, right? Because it's really putting a great, I guess, aha moment is the best way to look at it, to why features of our product actually matter and how they're impacting our customer base.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it's great too that you get to chat with some of those customers firsthand, and especially coming in a year and a half ago and coming into a product that was kind of established but had so much potential, and seeing how it's changed and how it's impacted the roadmap here is really cool. So I'll keep us on that same thread of determining how you're gonna determine what we're adding to the roadmap, the features, and beyond those themselves. Like, we've also been evolving how we manage our roadmap and how you show our roadmap and keep that kind of top of mind across the organization. So can you share more about what's changed?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I'll start kind of granular in what we're doing internally, and then I'll build out to the longer term vision for our roadmap and how we manage it. One of the things that we started doing, I believe I may have touched on this in the last Behind the Build episode, actually. Our dev team operates in 2-week sprints, which means that we release a new version to production every 2 weeks. At the end of each sprint, we bring the whole company together and do a big demo. And we're demoing primarily features that you can see and use in the web interface. And then for anything that's more behind the scenes that you can't see, we'll kind of talk about it. So we often will build a little, PowerPoint presentation to talk about what things are happening that you can't see and tie them back to customer value. Why are we building these? How do they tie into the longer term strategy? At the end of that demo, another recent change I've started doing is actually bringing up our roadmap in a timeline view and talking about what are we delivering? What's on time? Is there anything that's not on time? What are the next things that we're going to be building when we complete this release? And it's a really great feedback loop And it doesn't matter who takes part in these, right? I love that it's the whole company, because we get great questions from the sales team based on conversations we're having with customers. We get great questions from people who don't see and use the product every day like I do, right? I live and breathe this world, but to have questions from people that aren't in it, that ask why things matter, often lead to really insightful whole company conversations that really help drive our roadmap. And then everyone gets a say in priorities and to bring up different things. The other thing that I love about this, our past demo that we did, we demoed views and talked about why it matters. And I think I posed like 2 or 3 use cases for why this feature matters. And we kind of erupted into this whole like 20-minute conversation with everyone posing different use cases that could apply to it, that, to be honest with you, some of them I hadn't even thought of, right? So it was really great to get the whole company as like a brain trust behind a feature like that. It was fantastic. So those are the internal changes we've made. Bi-weekly demos at the end of every release, tying it back to the roadmap and having the conversations about what are priorities. The other big change that we've implemented is, when I first started doing roadmap presentations with customers, they were typically focused on, here's what's coming in the next couple of months. It was a pretty short window, right? Pretty short view. Versus now I'm building out presentations that are really telling the story about where we want to go a year from now, 2 years from now. What else are we going to integrate with? What does continuity suite of products look like beyond just continuity replay? And those are really great. So I'm collaborating with the sales team, getting in front of our current customers to kind of pitch these and get feedback. And that's really helpful because it helps me prioritize based on what customers actually want, not just what we think we want.
Right. Yeah. Very cool. And I have to say, personally, I love going to your demo meetings every 2 weeks, or your roadmap meetings, excuse me, just because it's like, all right, we got some sweet stuff that we can market now and get out there. And it's forced us, you and I, to like align more on, hey, when we have a release going out, how are we pushing this to our customers? How are we communicating out into the ether? Like, conversations like that, and just being transparent and like making sure we're putting this hard work that you guys are putting forth into this product like front and center, because this is our flagship solution. This, like you said, is the start of the conversation for how are we expanding our continuity product line. What does that suite look like? Like, we'll have, I think by the time this episode airs, we'll have promotions out about continuity capture and how continuity replay and continuity capture works together, so all good things. And I think if I'm thinking of my timeline correctly, another exciting piece of kind of this conversation as a whole is we'll be having an event up in Toronto on March 20th, speaking with one of our customers, TD Bank. So we'll have that as a separate episode than this, but really looking to have that conversation with the guys who are using continuity replay up there, how they're using it, how they're navigating their data management challenges. So yeah, should be good. All good things. Like we said, started off the episode, positive vibes are rolling. Okay. And last question kind of on that roadmap ops piece is, what are some of the biggest benefits that you're seeing from this approach, this change in approach?
For me, it's customer driven insights. It's increased confidence in our priorities. I can think of features that we've deprioritized out of these conversations, right? Again, things that we thought, like, we know there's value to the feature. Don't get me wrong. But if it doesn't serve a customer need today, there's no reason we should do that feature over another one, right? So we are agile in nature, and we like to be able to shift our priorities. So that's the biggest takeaway out of this, is really getting us all focused on what's going to matter for our customers.
Definitely. And I think that speaks to kind of like your agility to reprioritize, and like the fact that you guys are flexible, like you're open to everyone's feedback. You don't have your roadmap set in stone. It's a fluid situation, which is really cool. Okay. Before we close, anything else that you want to share about what's coming for continuity replay? How does it fit into the bigger picture of where we're headed? That sort of thing.
Is now an appropriate time to talk about continuity capture?
Yeah, sure. Give us the spiel.
So continuity replay is, your book of record for your archives interaction data. Continuity capture is another product that we're introducing to the continuity suite that's going to be responsible for recording. And what I really love about this is we have a great opportunity to tightly integrate the two, so that people can get access to one place where they're going to be able to capture their data and integrate it with continuity replay to kind of manage the retention policies and things of that nature. So it's going to be really seamless. I'm really excited to get this off the ground.
Yeah, that's a huge step. Like I said, I hear our own products and I'm like, yeah, let's get them in front of people. Let's get them in front of how do they tie together? And especially with it integrating so seamlessly with continuity capture, capturing your Teams communications, your Zoom communications, and then, hey, plugging it right into continuity replay. What's the retention date? Is it on legal hold? How do you need to manage it? Do you need to bulk export it? It's a lot more seamless. So that's really exciting.
And streamlined, right? Because we don't have to worry about how do we connect to a third party, that sort of thing, right? Like the less touch points that we have for this overall flow for our customer, the easier it is for everyone.
100%. Ooh, love it. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I wasn't even going to say anything. So, all right. That's all we had for today's conversation, Bob. Anything else you want to add before we close? All good?
No, thanks again for having me. I love coming. I could chat about this sort of stuff all day long. It gets me really excited.
Yeah, me too. Like we said, positive vibes all around. So thank you, Bob, for joining me for another Behind the Build episode of the Wilmac Wire, talking about what's new with continuity replay, giving us sneak peeks of continuity capture and how our continuity suite is growing and what you guys are working on kind of behind the scenes. So again, thanks, Bob, for joining me. If you're listening to this episode and want to learn more about continuity replay or continuity capture, feel free to head over to our website, wilmactech.com. We are updating actually on a weekly or on a bi-weekly basis in coordination with the releases. We have marketing materials going out, a newsletter, and on social media on LinkedIn specifically. So head over to our social pages to check that out. Beyond that, connect with Bob Pease on LinkedIn. He's a good time. I just read a great post about the views feature this morning, so that he shared. So definitely check him out. Bob, thanks again, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in.
Thanks, Sam.
It's me again. After a great episode and a great conversation with Bob, he and I chatted and agreed I should hop back on here and just let people know if they want to learn more about the roadmap or get one of those presentations that Bob was alluding to, you should contact us. Leave a comment on wherever you're listening to this episode. Go to our website, submit a contact form, send a contact email, contact@wilmactech.com, or even find Bob or myself, Bob Pease or Emily Miller on LinkedIn and just send us a DM. We're happy to share it with you and just spread the message of the good things that are going on with continuity replay and see if it's solving any of the data management challenges that you're experiencing. So that was it. I'll close it out. Thanks again, Bob, for joining me. And this was a Behind the Build episode of the Wilmac Wire. Thank you. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Wilmac Wire. Make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform or visiting our website at www.wilmactech.com. You can also watch the full video recordings of every episode on our YouTube channel. Thank you for being a part of our community, and again, thank you for listening to the Wilmac Wire.